What up? What up? It's your boy Django. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. And I just gotta say, I'm so grateful for y'all. It breaks my heart just is so full. We just crossed 32,000 followers on Instagram. We just crossed 20,000 followers on TikTok, and I'm doing 2 to 3 minute videos about popular culture mixed with philosophy. People are messaging me like, "Oh man, Jean Baudrillard, Guy Debord. I'm reading these books. Courage to be disliked, Wayne Dyer." Like, we live in a world where people say that meaning doesn't matter and all we care about is just the spectacle. But the truth of the matter is, all you needed was a moment where someone took time to really talk about something that's interesting to you. And you would, of course, go back and try to learn more. All these people try to teach you to read, but I didn't read a single book in high school or college because I was so divorced from it having any meaning. When I asked, why do I need to learn this? What does it matter for? What I realized is they didn't even know. They were just doing their job. My hope was that I would open up a world that you could walk into that was just incredible to be in. And so many of you all have chosen that. And so many of y'all are here because of that. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. You guys are amazing, phenomenal, immaculate, divine, sensational, tantalizing, perfect. You're just, if no one else tells you today, I love you. And today's post is actually in response to a lot of the comments I've gotten about people saying that, like, I'm on the side of villains. The point of my content is not to be on the side of anyone. It's supposed to be a process of learning how to think about the world around us. Rather than vilifying something, why don't we ask why it happened so that we can learn a lesson? So that we can learn how we got here, how this happened, how we failed someone. And so today's post specifically, and as always, the article is going to be on my Patreon in conjunction to the podcast, wherever you're listening, whether it's Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music, whatever. Today's post is called The Architecture of Monsters, Why Tai Lung and Anakin Skywalker Were Never Meant to Win. Come on now. It's a game changer. We got a little pop culture sprinkled in here too. You'll see. Now, we tell ourselves stories about monsters to sleep better at night. In our collective imagination, the villain is an anomaly, a glitch in the human program, born with a heart made of coal and blood running cold. It is comforting to believe that evil is inherent. If monsters are born, then we, the good people, have no responsibility for them. If darkness is a genetic defect, we don't have to look at the assembly line that built it. But when you strip away the lightsabers, the kung fu, and the fantastical elements of our favorite myths, the stories of Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda and Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars are not stories of inherent evil. They are tragedies of adoption. They are forensic case studies on how culture, prophecy, and conditional love can take a vibrant child and hollow them out until the only thing left to fill the void is destruction. We look at their crash outs, their sudden violent turns against their masters, and we judge them. We see their rage and call it madness. But we forget that monsters are rarely born. They are painstakingly built, brick by brick, by the very people who claim to save them. Now, the first part is the burden of the chosen. Love is a transaction. The fundamental failure of Master Shifu and the Jedi Order was identical. They fell in love with a prophecy, not a person. They loved the idea of the child, not the child himself. In Kung Fu Panda, Shifu didn't just train Tai Lung, he indoctrinated him. We see it in the flashbacks, the tender moments where Shifu looks down at the cub with pride. But what was that pride based on? It wasn't based on Tai Lung's kindness or his humor or his existence. It was based on his potential to be the dragon warrior. Shifu inadvertently convinced Tai Lung that his love was a wage to be earned and the currency was perfection. This is the most dangerous trap a parent or mentor can set. Children are sponges. They do not have the cognitive barrier to separate their parents' expectations from their own reality. They internalize their guardians' beliefs and superimpose them onto the entire world. I cannot remember exactly which book I read this from, but there was a very specific warning from a psychologist that I read. He pointed out 2 very specific use cases. A daughter whose father only compliments her when she is dressed up or looks pretty will internalize a terrifying truth. I am only valuable as an aesthetic object. She will grow up believing the world will only tolerate her existence if she's beautiful, and she will feel unsafe the moment she is not. And a son who is ignored when he is playing quietly, but receives immediate attention, even negative attention, when he is acting out or has a problem, learns a different lesson. Peace equals invisibility. So to matter, I must have a problem. To be seen, I must be broken. And now that I think about it, I actually think that second one is from The Courage to Be Disliked, and the first one is from Wayne Dyer's What Do You Actually Want for Your Children? I have those books somewhere. I'll flash them. Tai Lung and Anakin were both saved from humble beginnings, abandonment and slavery, respectively. But they were immediately placed into a transaction. Anakin was freed by Qui-Gon Jinn, not simply out of altruism, he communicated it. Qui-Gon said, "You're the chosen one." From that moment on, Anakin left his mother on Tatooine. His worth was tied to his utility to the Order. He was an asset, a convergence of the Force, a tool to bring balance. He was never just a boy who missed his mom. Shifu filled Tai Lung's head with the dream of destiny. He told him he was special. He told him he was the one. When a child hears this, they don't hear you have potential. They hear if you are not this thing, you're nothing. Now, the tragedy of the Crashout, that moment when Anakin marches on the Jedi Temple or Tai Lung ravaging the Valley of Peace, which, by the way, both walking up those stairs, same moment, is that it's often viewed by the audience as a sudden snap. We think, how could they do this? In reality, it is the inevitable collapse of a worldview that was shattered, leaving the subject with no other tools to navigate the path. The Jedi Order demanded Anakin trust them completely. They preached a dogma of detachment, suppressing emotion and forbidding attachment. This is a cruel thing to ask of a former slave whose only source of love was his mother. Yet Anakin did everything he could to fit that square peg into a circular hole. He tried to be what the Jedi wanted. However, when the Force screamed at Anakin that his mother was in danger, what did the Order say? They failed him. They told him his visions were a distraction. They told him to ignore his intuition and trust their rules. They systematically dismantled his trust in himself. This is a key point. Like, I'm going to go ahead, but literally, they curated a world where they said, you do not trust yourself. You do not trust the world around you. You trust us. And this is the architectural flaw of authoritarian parenting and cult-like cultures. When you raise a child to rely entirely on external authority, you cripple their internal compass. You cannot ask a man to navigate the dark when you have never given him a light of his own. Anakin was told, trust the council. The council was wrong. And then because he was never taught to look inward or trust his own feelings, he didn't pivot to self-reliance. He pivoted to the next available external authority, which was Palpatine. It wasn't that Anakin deeply desired to be evil. It was that Palpatine was the only one offering a script when the Jedi script caught on fire. Palpatine validated his feelings. Palpatine offered a path to save what he loved. The Jedi offered platitudes about letting go. And also, just as a side note, I didn't even write this down, but Mace Windu was ready to basically take Palpatine out once he was like, oh, he might be on the Sith. And Anakin's like, that's not the Jedi way. And now all of a sudden Samuel Jackson's like, it doesn't matter that it's not the Jedi way. We have to do what we have to do. Oh, wow. So here we go again. It's always like Anakin, do what we say, but not always what we do. Right? Oh, yeah, you were a war hero and you saved everyone, but yeah, we see something in you that we don't really like. So you know what? You're not going to be a Jedi Master. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Right. His fault. When your entire world is built on trust us, we know the way, and then you hit a dead end, you will follow the first person who opens a new door, even if the door leads to hell. You know what? There's a moment in Kung Fu Panda that breaks the heart of anyone who has ever strived for parental approval. It is in the confrontation between Tai Lung and Shifu. Tai Lung has returned, not just for the scroll, but for an explanation, right? 20 years. As they fight, Tai Lung screams the truth that has been rotting inside him for the last 2 decades. I rotted in jail for 20 years because of your weakness. I did it for you. All I ever did, I did it to make you proud. Tell me how proud you are, Shifu. Tell me. It's raw, it's violent, but it's not the speech of a monster. It's the scream of a neglected son. And in that moment, Shifu finally stops fighting. His face softens and he delivers the apology that's coming 2 decades too late. I have always been proud of you. From the first moment, I've been proud of you. And it was my pride that blinded me. I loved you too much to see what you were becoming. I'm sorry. This is the crux of the tragedy. Shifu's pride was actually divorced from Tai Lung being the dragon warrior. Shifu loved the boy, but he never communicated that. He only communicated the goal. He allowed Tai Lung to believe that the love was conditional on the destiny. If Shifu had told Tai Lung, I love you whether you get the scroll or not, years earlier, Tai Lung would never have destroyed the valley. But because the father figure withheld that distinction, the son couldn't separate his soul from his success. When the success was denied, his soul was destroyed. Now think about this. Po, the boy who was loved for absolutely nothing, contrasted to Tai Lung's tragedy. On paper, Po is a failure all throughout the movie. He had no inherent skills. He was out of shape. He was terrible at kung fu. He was the antithesis of the chosen one. But Po had something Tai Lung and Anakin never did: a father who loved him for absolutely no reason. Mr. Ping, the goose, didn't care about prophecies. He only cared about noodles. He loved Po simply because Po was his son. He gave Po a foundation of unconditional acceptance. And when the moment of truth came, the opening of the dragon scroll, Po saw the blank reflection that Tai Lung saw. But unlike Tai Lung, Po had the tools to eventually understand it, because Mr. Ping had taught him that the secret ingredient to his famous soup was nothing. To make something special, you just have to believe it's special. Po was able to look inward and find value because he had been raised to believe he had value. Tai Lung had the Dragon Warrior as his identity, and when that was taken, he was zero. Po had Po as his identity. When the scroll was blank, he was still Po. The intangibles didn't matter. The force count didn't matter. The kung fu technique didn't matter. All that mattered was learning to love yourself enough to recognize your own ability. Po was not because he was strong. Po won not just because he was stronger, but because he was whole. Now here's the thing. This dynamic is not limited to the heightened reality of cinema. We see it play out in the headlines, tragedies, and downfalls of our own world. Consider the recent disturbing revelations regarding Sean Diddy Combs. The discourse rightly focuses on the victims and the horror of the abuse. But if we want to understand how a human being becomes capable of such things, we just have to look at the blueprint. The documentary footage and biographical details suggest a childhood where his mother raised him to be the image of his absent father, a specific, curated role. It has been noted that when he dressed the part and looked the part and did the things at the parties, he was accepted and praised. But when he failed to meet that expectation, when he stepped out of the character his mother had written for him, he was allegedly met with severe physical punishment. This is the creation of a script. The child learns, I am only safe when I am powerful. I am only loved when I am dominant. When that child grows up, they do not discard that script magically. They act it out on a larger stage. They become the abuser because they were trained that love and violence are two sides of the same coin. To look at Diddy or Anakin or Tai Lung is not to condone their actions. Explaining the origin of a fire does not excuse the arsonist, but it gives us the ability to see the pain that fuels the destruction. It allows us to recognize that monsters are often just traumatized children who grew big enough to hurt others. My whole goal with everything that I create is just to reframe evil. We label Tai Lung and Anakin as evil, but if we look closer, we see two men who were willing to go to the absolute ends of the earth to save people they loved or become the expectation set upon them. Anakin burned the galaxy down not because he hated it, but because he loved Padme, and he just couldn't bear the thought of losing her. Tai Lung ravaged a city not for power, but to bring a scroll home to his father. In our culture, we romanticize this kind of devotion. We talk about how we would do anything for the people we love. We listen to Drake when he raps the spin about you. I want to tell you how I feel when I'm loaded. Oh, what? I would lay something down for you. I would clear a whole town for you. Spray the whole 100 round for you. Twisting up my fingers for my dog. What are we talking about, bro? We nod our heads to this. We want to find the people we can call our own. What did Post Malone say? Will you hold my gun? Come on, bro. What did Kendrick say he do for the fam? What did 50 say he do for his fam? What did Eminem say he do? Like, the list goes on. We view clearing out the whole town and being willing to hold the gun as loyalty, as a virtue. But when we see the literal manifestation of it in Anakin Skywalker slaughtering younglings to save his wife, or Tai Lung destroying the palace to please his master, we call it villainy. The uncomfortable truth is that we are looking at the same energy. It is the energy of a person who has lost themselves in the service of another. It is the crash out of a man who has no boundaries, only devotion. We just watch how you can lose yourself while doing it. Takeaway from these stories is not that some people are destined to fail. It is that we underestimate how much of us is made of the people who shaped us. If we want to stop building monsters, we have to stop loving people for their potential and start loving them for their presence. We have to be willing to kill the prophecy to save the child. We must teach children to trust their own intuition, not just our orders. We have to give them the tools to look into the mirror and see value even when the scroll is blank. We have to be like Mr. Ping offering soup and love regardless of talent, rather than Shifu offering pride only in exchange for greatness. We cannot save Anakin from the dark side. That story is told. We cannot save Tai Lung from the Wuxi finger hole. But we can look at the people in our own lives, the difficult ones, the gifted ones, the ones crumbling under the pressure of expectation, and offer them something the Jedi never did, a love that requires no destiny to earn. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I've been in rare form lately. I just been feeling the flow of the content, and I'm just grateful for y'all. I'm grateful that you keep pushing me, you keep asking me questions, you keep DMing me, we're growing, bro. The community is incredible. I'm so grateful for you guys. I love y'all so much. Again, like I said, you're immaculate, you're amazing, you're phenomenal, you're divine, you're sensational, you're bodacious, you're tantalizing. You're perfect. I knew I was saying something that mattered. I just didn't know so many people would actually listen. And I'm going to keep going and keep creating these things. If you love this, please share it with somebody who needs to hear it. If you know somebody who maybe seems like they're acting out a little bit, or, they've hurt people, why not just check in? Ask them how they're doing. See what their childhood was like. So many of us are just acting out the sins of our mothers and fathers, And who knows? Maybe just caring a little bit could save somebody's life. I am Django Degree. I am infinitely grateful for you. And until next time, peace.